But see, I remember Fairfield that had more vibrancy, that had more commerce, business, and families. And it's deteriorated over time. Just hopefully I don't pick up a nail driving through here. You got all these overgrown yards and torn up houses, and there are people still in these communities, but the family structure in these communities is just completely obliterated.
Breaking news this morning ends with a suspect in custody after
a violent 48 hours in central Alabama, ending with a mass shooting in Fairfield last night. 5 people shot in a drive-by.
Multiple investigations after a deadly night in Birmingham. 2 shootings killed 3 people.
Hundreds of people gathered at Fairfield High School football game, scattering after shots were fired from a vacant house nearby.
There's a lot of poverty and a lot of broken families in my community. I would go to sleep constantly hearing gunshots. I didn't have much money in our family growing up. We kind of lived paycheck to paycheck. My mom was just trying to survive. My mom was just trying to put food on the table, so she had to work a lot. My father was not present. My grandfather had already passed, and my great-grandfather had already passed before I was born. So I didn't have any direct men in my life. From an early age, I just didn't have guidance on what it looked like to be a man.
I met a young man, and he was broken, fatherless, impoverished, both physical and spiritual.
I've slept on cots, I've slept on couches, my friend's mother's couch. I've slept and lived in the projects. I was shown that the opportunities to find success were gonna be in the gangs, in the street life, in the drug dealing. By the grace of God, I realized that education was gonna be my way out. I was able to graduate high school as my salutatorian. I was able to graduate college. The young men in our community don't see that often.
They may not even see their dads. Most of the time, they don't even know who they are, and they are drowning in a sea of hopelessness.
When a young boy does not have a man in his home setting the example of what a man is supposed to be, they're gonna look for the influence somewhere. Now, are they gonna get that influence from somewhere, regardless?
These guys are very transient. They're in and out. Their phones go off the next day. They're in prison, they're dead, they're shot, they're killed, or murdered. They got kids being born. They're not ready for it. It's just a lot of stuff coming.
And a lot of people are just throwing up their hands and saying, what do we do? How do we address this? How do we stop this?
This is vitally important because you're in a culture.
And then I say as a pastor, so I'm preaching, how do we break this? How do we stop the violence in our communities? And I tell people, look at the research. The research is just there. It's not hidden from us. Why are all the kids that are dying coming from a certain kind of home? They're fatherless. So you just got brokenness on top of brokenness, which leads to more brokenness. But you know what? I've done too many funerals. I want to do more weddings than I do funerals. How about changing that? And I've been asking God to do that. I said, God, please. Please, God, please. I don't have to see a lot. Demonstrate just for a moment a sense of I'm someone and I'm loved by a holy God, and that I don't have to die at 19. And Dion has gone through a lot of pain in his life, and I think he learned that by experience, that let's start with the basics. What does it look like to do it God's way?
I had to figure out a lot on my own. During those times when I was the most lonely was when I experienced God's presence the deepest. I just felt empty. I just felt lost. I just felt that I didn't know what to do going forward. And when I met Pastor Alton, he was able to articulate something in regards to the victimhood narrative, in regards to the system holding you back, and how that wasn't a reality, and that didn't have to be a reality. And that caused me to go deeper into my relationship with God, and I began to care about things that I didn't care about in the past. I began to care about building a community on marriage and family submitted to God and God's design for flourishing. I began to care about contributing to hope and contributing to helping where I can.
Every young person has free will, the ability to make decisions. But how is that free will exercised in such a way that it's for the betterment of their own life or for that of their community? Young people can't do that alone. Especially for kids who are growing up in communities where they're not seeing great examples of strong families, where they're not seeing how a faith community can mobilize to support them, or if they don't have access to great schools. And that's why I stress the importance of these institutions playing a role in the lives of our kids. Agency is individually practiced, but socially empowered.
And this is why you don't really know how people are watching you, watching your life, your marriage. And these young men, such as Dion, get to see more healing than what I ever could have even imagined. And I keep telling Dion, he's next up, and he's growing really fast. He's good.
We have been made by God, and for his own glory. Knowing that should give you a sense of dignity, value. You are worth something. We're trying to bring the realization of hope to this community and to people who have been beaten down, people who have been lied to, but with the systems and the structures of this world and the other people in this world, and they don't know who they are. Now at Urban Hope Community Church, I have the opportunity to disciple, to invest in the lives of men from a variety of ages and give them hope for the future. Despite where you start and despite the obstacles that you may be born into, they can be overcome. It's vitally important for anyone to understand in regards to bringing hope into people's lives. No matter where they're from, no matter what they've been through, no matter what they've experienced, no matter what family dynamic and background that they're from, we have dignity and value and worth.